I am standing in
It's
ankle-deep
bad
water,
out here.
watching years of
I
careful
know.
work
We
dissolve
need
into
to keep
brown
moving.
runoff. 3 summers of landscaping, drainage channels I dug myself, native plants I chose so the yard would survive storms like this. All of it gone. The water is not an accident. It never is with people like her. Across from me, Linda Mercer adjusts her sunglasses and looks down at my flooded yard like it is a completed project. The president of our HOA, 5 years in charge. 5 years of fines, warnings, and selective enforcement. She said my retaining wall violated community standards. She ordered it removed last week. Now the hillside behind my house has collapsed, sending half the neighborhood's runoff straight through my property. Feeling better now, Marcus? She asks, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Her voice has that calm satisfaction people get when they think they have won. I look at the water swirling around my boots, at the broken boards drifting past my knees. Thanks for asking, Linda, I say. I'm doing just fine. She frowns. That usually confuses people like her. They expect yelling. They expect threats. They never expect patience. What Linda does not know is that 3 weeks ago, while helping my mother clear out my late father's garage, I found a folder labeled Silverwood Drainage Easement. Inside were survey maps, county approvals, and one document that changed everything. Linda also does not know that the water, destroying my yard, right, now is flowing through an easement the HOA does not control. An easement the HOA has been violating for years. She clears her throat and points at her clipboard. The board agreed this was necessary, she says. Property values come first. Behind her, a few neighbors shift uncomfortably. A black couple from 2 houses down. An older white man who has lived here since the subdivision was built. They know this pattern. First it was Mrs. Johnson's fence, then the Ramirez family shed. Now my yard. Linda smiles again, already rehearsing how she will tell this story later. What she does not realize is that by forcing this issue, she just created a paper trail that leads straight to her desk. I step carefully through the water and look her in the eye. This is going to get expensive, I say quietly. She laughs. I don't, because sometimes the smartest move is letting someone believe they are untouchable. And sometimes the flood is exactly what you need to wash the truth into the open. 3 weeks earlier, I am sitting in my father's garage with dust on my hands and quiet in my chest. This is where he fixed lawn mowers, where he stored old paint cans and fishing rods he never used again. I am supposed to be throwing things away. Instead, I am opening boxes. Inside one of them, buried under Christmas lights and cracked extension cords, I find the folder. Silverwood Drainage Easement. The paper is thick, official, stamped by the county. I spread the documents across the workbench. The metal surface cold under my palms. Survey maps show our entire neighborhood. Lots, slopes, storm channels. And right there, running directly behind my house, is a wide shaded strip marked clearly. Permanent drainage easement. County controlled, not HOA. I sit back slowly, the folding chair creaking under my weight. For 5 years, Linda Mercer has fined homeowners for drainage changes, ordered walls removed, forced landscaping redesigns, all while claiming HOA authority. But according to these documents, anything affecting runoff in this zone requires county approval only. The HOA has no power here. None. I flip another page. A maintenance agreement signed by the original developer. Language so clear it almost feels rude. No private association may alter, obstruct, or redirect water flow within the easement boundaries. I exhale through my nose and let the silence settle. This is not just a mistake. This is a pattern. I pull out my phone and take photos of every page. Front, back, stamps, signatures. I remember every violation notice Linda slid into my mailbox. Every warning written in bold red ink. At the time, I thought fighting back meant arguing. Now I understand something my father used to say. Never interrupt someone who is confident and wrong. I stack the papers neatly and place them back in the folder. I do not call Linda. I do not email the board. Instead, I open a notebook and write the date at the top of the page. Then I list every time water issues were used to pressure someone in this neighborhood. Mrs. Johnson's fence collapse, the Ramirez shed removal, my retaining wall. Each line feels heavier than the last. Outside the garage, I hear a lawnmower start up, normal life continuing. Inside, I realize Linda Mercer has been enforcing rules she never had the right to touch. And people like Linda do not stop when they are challenged quietly. They stop when they are exposed publicly. I close the folder, slide it into my backpack, and zip it shut. I am not angry. I am patient. Because the next time Linda uses water as a weapon, she will be doing it on record. And this time, the flood will flow in the other direction. Linda Mercer does exactly what I expect her to do. She escalates. 2 days after the flood, she shows up with a clipboard, a measuring tape, and a man she introduces as a community compliance assistant. He looks barely old enough to rent a car. They step onto my lawn without asking. Routine follow-up inspection? Linda says. Already measuring the slope of the yard she ordered ruined. I watch quietly as her assistant snaps photos, his shoes sinking into the soft ground. Interesting, I say. Since when does the HOA conduct drainage inspections? Linda does not look up. Since homeowners started ignoring safety standards, she replies. She points at the washout behind my house like it is evidence of a crime. This erosion poses a risk to neighboring properties, she announces loudly, making sure the neighbors hear. The assistant nods like he understands hydrology. I feel eyes on my back. Mrs. Johnson stands across the street with her arms folded. The Ramirez kids peek through their front window. An older white couple whispers to each other near the mailbox. Everyone has seen this play before. Linda straightens and flips a page on her clipboard. The board has approved daily fines until corrective action is taken, she says. $200 per day. She finally looks at me, waiting for anger. Instead, I smile. That's fascinating, I say. Can you point me to the section of the bylaws that gives the HOA authority over county drainage easements? Her pen pauses. Just for half a second. She recovers quickly. You can challenge it if you want, she says, but enforcement will continue. She hands me the violation notice. Our fingers do not touch. As she turns to leave, I see something shift. Not fear, irritation. People like Linda do not like questions. They like compliance. That afternoon, I drive to the county office. By closing time, I have filed a formal inquiry about unauthorized alterations to a regulated drainage easement. I attach photos, dates, HOA violation notices. The clerk raises an eyebrow as she stamps the paperwork. We'll look into this, she says. By the end of the week, 3 neighbors stop me while I am checking my mail. She fined us for runoff last year, Mrs. Johnson whispers. Told us not to make trouble. The HOA made us remove a French drain, Mr. Ramirez says quietly. It flooded our garage. The pattern becomes visible to everyone except the person creating it. Linda keeps issuing notices, keeps measuring, keeps documenting. She does not realize that every visit, every fine, every photo is strengthening the case against her. I place the violation notice in my folder, right behind the easement maps. I do not fight back. I let her keep going. Because when someone is convinced they are the authority, they will always go too far. And Linda Mercer is already halfway there. Linda does not wait for the county to respond. She never does. 4 days after the inspection, a construction crew shows up at my house just after breakfast. No warning, no notice on my door. Just an engine rumbling and metal clanking against wood. I step outside as they start pulling apart what little structure I had left to control the runoff. HOA enforcement action, the crew leader says, not meeting my eyes. Ma'am said it had to come out today. Linda stands a few feet away, clipboard tucked under her arm like a badge. This is for the good of the community, she announces. Unauthorized structures can't remain. I look at the beams coming apart, at the soil collapsing inward as the last support is removed. Water has not even had time to drain from the last storm. I say nothing. That seems to bother her more than yelling ever would. Marcus, you were warned, she says. This is what happens when homeowners refuse to cooperate. Behind her, a neighbor starts recording openly now. Another neighbor whispers, Is this even legal? The crew hesitates as the ground shifts under their boots. One of them glances at Linda. Are you sure we're cleared for this? He asks. This looks like a drainage channel. Linda waves him off. The HOA has full authority here, she says. I'll handle the paperwork. The last beam comes free. The hillside gives way. Mud slides into the channel, blocking it completely. Within minutes, water begins backing up toward 3 other yards. Someone gasps. Someone swears. Linda's confidence flickers just for a moment. She looks at the mess and then at me. This is temporary, she says quickly. We'll assess further action. She leaves before the crew finishes loading debris. By evening, water is pooling where it should not be. Two neighbors knock on my door, worried. "This never happened before," one of them says. I nod and write down the time. I photograph everything: the equipment, the damage, the standing water creeping toward other foundations. I forward it all to the county office with a simple note: unauthorized demolition within regulated easement. Immediate downstream impact. The response comes faster than I expect. An inspection is scheduled. As night falls, I stand on my porch and listen to water moving where it was never meant to go. Linda thought today was enforcement. What she actually did was cross the line between nuisance authority and documented violation. People like Linda believe power comes from position. They forget it also comes with responsibility. And when you abuse one long enough, it eventually turns into the other. The county inspectors arrived the next morning. 2 trucks. Official seals on the doors. No clipboard theatrics. They step carefully around the mud, studying the channel Linda ordered destroyed. One of them pulls out a laminated map and points to the shaded section. "This is a regulated drainage easement," he says calmly. "No private association has authority to alter this." Linda steps forward, her voice sharp. "The HOA was enforcing community safety standards," she says. "This homeowner refused to comply." The inspector looks at her for a long moment. "Ma'am," he replies, "your association does not control this land." He gestures toward the water pooling against neighboring yards. "These alterations redirected runoff into adjacent properties." "That's a violation," a neighbor exhales loudly. Another neighbor pulls out a phone and starts recording again. Linda's face tightens. "We'll appeal," she says quickly. This was done in good faith. The second inspector flips a page on his clipboard. "The demolition was not permitted," he says. "Neither was the obstruction created afterward." He turns slightly toward me. "Sir, thank you for documenting this. It helped." Linda looks at me like she is seeing me for the first time, not as a homeowner, as a problem. "This isn't over," she snaps. "The board will take further action." The inspector shakes his head. "No, ma'am, it won't." He hands her a notice. "Unauthorized alteration. Required remediation. Immediate cease of HOA involvement in the easement." The paper trembles in her hand. Around us, the neighborhood feels different. People stand straighter. Whispers stop. The authority Linda wore for years has slipped off in front of everyone. One inspector explains the next steps. "The county will oversee repairs. Costs will be assessed to the party who ordered the work." Linda opens her mouth, then closes it. For the first time since I moved here, she has nothing to say. As the inspectors leave, one of my neighbors steps closer. "She did this to us too," Mrs. Johnson says softly. "We just didn't know we could fight it." I look at the water, already starting to drain as temporary fixes are put in place. This isn't victory yet, but it is exposure. Linda wanted control. She wanted silence. Instead, she created records, witnesses, and consequences. And when someone who thrives on intimidation loses the audience, they lose everything that made them powerful. I watch Linda walk back to her house alone. The clipboard hangs useless at her side. She still thinks this is a setback. She has no idea it is the beginning of the end. The day of reckoning arrives at Harbor Festival. Karen Mercer, the woman who spent 3 years pretending to regulate our waterfront, is finally being held accountable. Federal agents move quickly, handcuffs clicking into place. Her eyes widen. Her mouth opens, then closes. Shock, panic, rage, all layered into one moment. I stand nearby, Marina Corporation paperwork in hand. Every violation documented, every abuse of authority recorded. Neighbors, once intimidated by her daily fines and inspections, are witnessing justice firsthand. Camera shutters click. Reporters shout questions. Children stare wide-eyed from behind their parents. Karen's defense committee is nowhere to be seen. Her HOA power evaporates in a single official act. She is accused of attempted bribery, environmental crimes, and destruction of property. The festival, meant for community celebration, now becomes the backdrop for accountability. People who were silent for years start speaking. "This is the first time anyone stood up," Mrs. Johnson says softly. "I can't believe it's happening." Pete Torino grins, shaking his head. All this time she thought she could bully us. Turns out she was breaking the law the whole time. Karen struggles against the cuffs, yelling at anyone who will listen. "She forged documents. He's a veteran. He's mentally unstable." Her voice rises above the festival music. No one believes her anymore. Federal agents escort her to a waiting vehicle. Neighbors take photos, record video, and whisper to each other about finally being free from her harassment. Marcus looks at the harbor, the sunset reflecting off calm waters. The docks are intact. The waterway is open. The festival continues, but the lesson is clear. Authority without legitimacy is fragile. Bullies crumble when truth is backed by law, documentation, and community. Karen Mercer's reign of terror ends here, in front of everyone she tried to control. And as the handcuffs click and the vehicle drives away, I realize something. Sometimes justice isn't just about stopping the crime. It's about letting the perpetrator create their own downfall while everyone watches. The harbor is safe again. The festival goes on, and the community finally breathes.